All right. Our guest today is Executive Director and CEO of Metra. He has served in that position for 2 years. Prior to coming to Metra, our guest today served as the Executive Officer for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Our guest today served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1978 to 1982. He earned an MBA from California Baptist University and a bachelor's degree in business administration from California Polytechnic University. Our guest today and his wife are the proud parents of 2 adult children. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Clifford. There we go. Thank you. Thank
you. Well, thank you so much. Jay, thank you, and thank the City Club for this invite. I'm happy to be here for my second visit, and hopefully we have many more down the road. I'd also like to recognize before I start at our Metra table over here, we have Director Mike McCoy and Director Jim LaBelle. And then also I'd like to recognize our board chairman. Is he in the room? Okay, I think he's on his way, so we'll recognize him when he comes in. And then, of course, all of the Metra team members at the Metra table, if you'd stand up just and say hello. And helping me out today is Sandra. Thanks, Sandra. All right. So as just to cover a few facts about Metra before we get started. Metra certainly is not a small system. We cover over 500 route miles. We're one of the largest commuter rail systems in the nation. Last year, we provided 81.3 million safe trips on our system. We did that with 1.4 million revenue service hours, using 703 trains each weekday, 1,156 rail vehicles, and 366-day year last year. Remember, it was a leap year, so we got an extra day in there. And then we carry approximately 50% of all of the peak hour trips in the major expressway corridors coming into Chicago. That's a pretty incredible system Metra is. So last year I talked a little bit about turning the page and trying to get away from the controversies of 2010. So thanks to the hard work and dedication of our staff, with the strong guidance from the Metra board, I believe we have gone a long ways towards restoring the public trust and their faith in Metra. In 2012, we discussed the strengthening and improving of the agency and our services. And we did this by focusing really in 5 key areas: governance, operations, promoting our service, maintaining the system, and enhancing the experience. So in the area of good governance, we have enhanced our transparency, and we continue to do that. Our goal is to be more open and more participatory, and we keep making moves in that direction. You might have noticed that in this last year, we added to our Metra website all of our agendas and links to the documents. So now, on Wednesday, before every board meeting, and starting next week with our first set of committee meetings, on Wednesday before, you can go to our website, look at our agenda, and click on any agenda item you want and see all the same backup material that our board members receive. So that was a major step for us, and we started that in 2012. In addition to that, the chair established Chairman O'Halloran established new standing committees, and as I indicated, their first round of committees will happen next week. And stay tuned. I know he has more on his mind about transparency, and I think in this next set of meetings next week, he's going to talk a little bit about that. So tune in, look at our website on Wednesday, and better yet, come to our committee meetings. And in addition to that, we held 17 public meetings across the entire 6-county service region over the last year on our strategic plan. Now, Metra has not had a strategic capital plan before this, and last year I told you we were going to start on it in 2012. In fact, we started on it, and we nearly got it complete. We'll get it complete this year. We did go through some workshops with the public and also with the board, and we're just about there, so that'll be our first plan. In the area of stable financials, we have budget compliance finishing 2012 at $13.2 million to the favorable, with 2.9 of that coming from additional revenues and another 10.3 from efficiencies during the year. We've also continued to redouble our efforts in regional collaboration, Again, we think the strategic plan is a good step in the direction of regional collaboration. We also developed a meaningful mission statement, and we've been working with CTA, RTA, IDOT, PACE on the Red Line construction mitigation project, and we're a partner with them in that, a support partner in that, and helping them out with any kind of overflows with our service. In addition to that, we worked with the Secret Service, the state and the local law enforcement on a very major event that doesn't come around too often, and that was NATO in the last year. And I'm sure a lot of you read about some of the impacts to Metra that were caused by NATO. On the operational excellence side of the equation, we exceeded our 95% target, minimum target, if you will, of on-time performance. We reduced our mechanical failures. That's a train set breaking down somewhere out on the line. We reduced that by 23% last year, year over year. And year over year, we reduced the delays that are caused by freight trains by 38%. We also continued to focus on enhancing safety. We closed out 2012 with the lowest employee injury ratio in the history of Metra. We also reduced employee lost work time due to on-duty injuries by 56%. In the area of promoting service, so why do we work so hard to make these improvements? Well, wouldn't any of you like $1,153 right now? Probably. Well, we can quickly show you how you can do that. There was a recent study that was released from Texas A&M dealing with congestion across the nation, but we focused on the Chicago commuter area. Now, they've been collecting data since 1982, and that data showed that, depending on which measure you're looking at, our congestion is some of the worst in the entire nation. As a matter of fact, folks on the expressways in the Chicago region waste about 51 hours a year just sitting in traffic. That's pretty incredible, 51 hours a year. Now think about if they would ride Metra and save that time and more, what more quality time they can spend with their families. They should be riding Metra, and that's our goal, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later in the presentation. So in addition to that, what they pointed out is for this region, that equates to about $1,153 per year in additional costs as a result of staying on the expressway versus coming on over to our car. So given all the things that we did, you can imagine that we were a little bit surprised that last year our ridership year over year was down about 1.7% compared to 2011. So we wanted to really get to the heart of this. We studied that because we wanted to know what was going on. We knew there was a lot of explainable things like fewer kinds of events in Chicago, shorter Chicago taste, but we needed to get to the bottom of that. And sometimes folks will default to saying, well, gee, Clifford, you just did this 25% fare increase in 2011, and then you did another 11% in 2012. It must be that, right? Well, so we thought, all right, we'll go out and we'll study it, and if that's the answer, so be it. We'll take it. And so Robert and his team did some surveying of past customers and actually found out that really the fare increase didn't pop up anywhere on the radar screen at all. As a matter of fact, what the survey showed us handily is that the reason why people left our system is because of things like loss of job, retirements, and relocation. As a matter of fact, we know from this survey and other surveys that on average in any given year, we attrit out about 15% of our riders for just those reasons. So just to stay even, our system has to keep working real hard in order to replace up to 15% of our riders in any given year. So the message really was to us that we really didn't do a good job last year of keeping up with attrition. So this is driving our key goals in 2013, and in addition to that, we set a goal of increasing ridership by year-end this year of 2%. So how do we plan to accomplish that? Well, we're implementing a program that leverages and builds on the concept that Metra is the best option for commuters to escape the well-known hassles of gridlock on the expressway. We're expanding upon the existing tagline, "The Way to Really Fly," emphasizing not only the quality of life and time savings taking the train represents to commuters, but also Metra's reliable convenience and services. Remember, we exceeded our minimum target of 95% on-time performance. How well do you think the expressways did last year? Probably not that well. So we communicate the unique benefits and advantages that Metra offers to commuters over driving to work, with additional emphasis on the amount of money Chicagoans waste annually sitting in traffic, as well as unstable gas prices. And anybody who's been filling up their car lately knows how it's headed to $5, and you might even be paying $5 in some places. We'll also be emphasizing that the pre-tax transit benefit of $240 is back. So that got reinstated. That's good news. And of course, we'll execute these campaigns across multiple channels, including radio, digital, outdoor, online, and PR media. So in the next slide, you'll see some of our billboards. Metra makes life easier for commuters with convenient on-time service from most anywhere in the 6-county service region. You'll see these billboards out there today, and they'll keep popping up. We have a lot of billboards that have been around a while, and so we're going to replace those and put a fresh message. And then in addition to that, I think we're going to play a quick radio clip.
Did you know commuters that drive to work in Chicago spend an average of 50 hours a year sitting in traffic? That's more than a full work week, wasting precious time you can never get back. That's why we invite you to come to the Metra station nearest you and test drive one of our cars to work. On the train, frustrating hours you once spent in traffic are replaced with relaxing time, getting work done, answering emails, texting, or reading. You also save the $1,200 a year that lost time and wasted gas used to cost you in traffic, not to mention the costs of parking, tolls, and wear and tear on your vehicle. With 241 stations on 11 lines running to and from the Chicago Loop, there's bound to be a convenient Metra station for a road warrior like you. So test drive one of our Metra cars to work and see what it's like to go from crawling in traffic to cruising in transit.
So very good. So you probably will be thinking about this from the perspective that it's been a long time since Metra's really been this active in marketing, and kudos to Robert and his team and our partnership with Mac Communications. We're really digging in this year and putting a full court press on to refresh the message and sell the benefits and the value. In addition to that, this week we launched our Test Drive a Metra Car campaign. Now, this campaign invites people to go to our website, www.metrarail.com, and you can either go from the icon on the homepage, or you can go /test drive and get to a very simple form to fill out to enter into what is in effect a contest to win free tickets. So what it is that each time we pull someone's name out of the hat, if you will, they'll get 2 one-way tickets to ride on our system anywhere on the system. So we'll be doing this campaign for 14 weeks, and each week, each Monday, starting this Monday, we'll draw 500 names and mail those tickets out. Now, the primary target market here is for us to get to those folks that either haven't ridden on Metra in a while, or maybe haven't even tried the train. We want to get them on the system because we do believe that if they ride one time, one round trip, that they'll be convinced that this is really a pretty cool thing. And along this journey, we'll help them understand where they need to go to park, depending on where they live, and also when they get to their destination station, how they can get from that destination station to their final destination. So we'll help them through that. We'll help them get through that anxiety that sometimes people feel when they think about riding transit and they have no experience riding transit. It's really not a difficult thing to do, and it really is a great experience. All right, in the area of maintaining our system and infrastructure, our ability to meet our ridership goals and continue to deliver the level of quality and service that our customers expect is greatly influenced by our ability to maintain our system in a state of good repair. And of course, these are just a few examples of things that we do: bridges, rolling stock, maintenance of structures. Now, in the area of stations in the last year, in conjunction with a wonderful partnership with Tinley Park, the 80th Street station on the Rock Island was completely rebuilt, and they built a wonderful station there. And then over on the electric line, the 211th Street station was rebuilt. So those are just a couple of things that we did last year. And then in the area of enhancing the experience, our Metra electric highliners are coming in. Now, last year we received 8 of those. By fall of this year, we're going to have 80 of those. So we'll be at the halfway point by fall of this year of the 160 car order, those being put together up in Rochelle. So when all of those cars come in, the Metra electric line will be the only line in our system with 100% brand new cars. Now, in this last year, we also launched AEDs, so we put automatic external defibrillators on our train, on each train consist. So each train consist has at least one AED, and we installed a total of 266 of those across our system. And then we also completed the major Belmont project, $60 million project. If you haven't seen that in Downers Grove, you got to go out and see it. It's also award-winning, and I've just been informed that we're on track for yet another award for that project. Now, in the area of enhancing the experience, we're installing electrical outlets on all of the cars that we rehabilitate. And as you may or may not know, we do a lot of that right on our property with our own people. And then in addition to that, all of those Highliner cars coming in have those electrical outlets on them. So it'll be an opportunity for folks with their iPods and iPads and laptops and whatever they're carrying to plug in and recharge on their trip into Chicago or wherever they're going. We just discourage them from bringing their shavers and blow dryers and things like that. It's generally not well received. We're also going to, as you may have read, we're also making an effort on Wi-Fi, and we're exploring that. The board has given us approval to go forth and study it, and if the study proves out well, then we may even start a pilot project in the near future on one of our lines. And this year, we not only developed, but we launched the real-time rail tracker. So that gives folks a chance to go on the internet and see what the status is of their trains. And then, of course, I think we made great progress through Lynette's team and a collaboration of all of our departments at Metra in the area of regional fairs. Stay in touch. I think we're coming up with some good solutions. One of those solutions, I think, in the future will be minimally a pilot project using smartphones. So what about the future? The recent updated RTA-sponsored fixed asset study showed a couple of interesting things. First of all, Metra estimates $9.7 billion of investment is needed in state of good repair over the next 10 years. And just like I told you last year, the revenue side hasn't changed really by a dollar. It's $2.6 billion is about what we expect over the course of the next 10 years. The difference is that between now and what I told you last year is now that gap over the next 10 years is $7 billion. Last year I told you it was 5. That was based on a prior study. Now it's $7 billion over the next 10 years. So a lot of work is to be done. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to www.metrarail.com and look up State of Good Repair when you get on our site, and take a look at Joe Sweeterman from DePaul University, his report titled Tending to Transit, the Benefits and Costs of Bringing Public Transportation in the Chicago Region into Good Repair. And Joe, did you make it today? I think Joe was going to be here. All right, he's not here, but if you get a chance, go on our website and click on that and read that report, and it really affirms what I'm saying about State of Good Repair and where we have to put some of our priorities. In the end, we need your help. When you're in D.C. or you're in Springfield, talk about Metra, talk about State of Good Repair, and talk to the state and the federal government about the fact that we need to find ways to put more money into this organization and into transit and transportation in general. So, Jay, I thank you and City Club and all in attendance for being here, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions? City Club E is right there. Any RFPs? A question. Come on, Selectman.
How important is the reverse commute to Metra, and how are you addressing that?
Right. Repeat the question.
So the question is, how important is the reverse commute to Metra, and what are we doing about it? It is very important. Certainly, as John Gates often talks about, that is the one area in which we have capacity, right? So when we're coming inbound into Chicago, you know, we have a little capacity here and there, but the one place we do have capacity is on those outbound trips. We need to figure out better ways to deal with that last mile. The problem with trying to sell those seats going in the outbound direction in the peak hour is that we got to figure out how to bridge that last mile. It's not always as easy to get from your destination station to your final destination when you're outbound as it is when you're coming into, say, Chicago. So there are some partnerships out there. We have the Lake Cook Road Partnership, I think, that works out real well, and we're going to keep exploring those kinds of things. Where it makes sense, I think we should participate in shuttles that will help bridge that last mile. So as a part of our campaigns, there are several phases to these campaigns, these marketing campaigns over the next year. We will also have some campaigns to try to fill some of those seats going in the reverse commute direction. And also, remember, we have a lot of seats available in the off-peak in general. So we are running trains. Sometimes there are equipment moves that we run open door, but we do have capacity. And Robert and his team, and working with Mac Communications, we're going to figure out a way to augment our current marketing programs and try to fill those seats. So thank you for the question.
Professor, well, yep, yell it out.
Does your strategic plan address trying to bring some balance to levels of service to the different regions? We're some Southwest siders here still dreaming of Sunday service, express trains, luxuries like that. Is that going to be addressed and accomplished with the strategic plan?
It's a good question. So, okay. The question dealing with the Southwest service. Is that correct?
Southwest.
Heritage Corridor, okay. Looking for more service, weekend service. And these are some of the questions that come up. Certainly in the Heritage Corridor, for example, where we have 3 trains in, 3 trains out. That's the folks along that line have asked for more trains, particularly more peak hour trains. And then we get requests for weekend service. And so the question is, how is our strategic plan handling that? Well, right now, it doesn't give us a solution to that. Now, what we did through this exercise over the last year is we collected the universe, if you will, of all the different types of requests coming from customers and stakeholders, elected officials, and others. So we've captured that. Now, you saw my message about state of good repair. So when you talk about adding more trains, adding new stations, extending lines, adding new lines, you're really talking about expenditures that are outside of state of good repair. Now, state of good repair has a massive hole, and we have to focus on that. And some of these other projects, new starts and whatnot, will have to come up with some creative ways to do that. Now, that may be partnerships, that may be seeking some special federal funding beyond maybe just new starts money, because even that's a little bit complicated because it's 50% you and 50% the federal government. So I don't have an easy answer for you other than to say those kinds of requests are captured in sort of the unconstrained portion of the plan, and they'll be up for board discussion in the coming days and weeks and years.
Alex, you may want to add Pace's bus on shoulder plan, which is specifically utilized in that.
So John is pointing out that Pace has added the bus on shoulder program, which is helping to remedy some of those demands. So thank you, John.
All of a sudden, it's jackpot.
What was it that I said?
I don't know, but you know, there are things you could write on the, you know. I mean, this is just like one of these tech guys. Everyone has to tag it. Okay, say who you are and yell it out. Jump up. First one up. Yes, ma'am. Mary Sue, of course.
So we can all agree that there's these huge backlog of maintenance needs, and every form of transportation is in need of more dollars. Can you share some comparisons of the Chicagoland region and your experience in Los Angeles? What's the one thing we can do to get people to pay more attention to investing in infrastructure? Is it our complicated governmental structure? Is it the economic arguments? What are we missing?
Word for word, repeat what you just said.
What's the difference between Chicago and LA when it comes to transit, and what can we do to strengthen the message about our needs? You know, one of the things that most excited me about coming here was that your transit, particularly Metra, your passenger rail in general, has been around for a very long time and has continued in an unbroken fashion. In contrast, in Southern California, where I come from, we had passenger rail. We had a lot of it. Matter of fact, we had a lot of red cars and whatnot way back when. But there was this broken time. I mean, a couple generations of broken time before they came around and got their sense and started reintroducing transportation. I mean, Metrolink, commuter rail, a board that I sat on back in the early 90s, during its started in the early 90s. Your commuter rail has been around for a very long time, predating Metra. So what's cool about this system is our riders can talk about their dad or their grandfather having ridden passenger rail. So it's out here, it's in your blood, and you expect it, and we have to do everything we can do to make sure it stays forever. Out there, they're still trying to reintroduce it, trying to find the money, and as you know, rebuilding and reintroducing transportation, I don't care whether it's light rail or heavy rail, is a very expensive proposition, and it takes some time. So there's big differences between, I think, the two service areas. My message is, and has been, and our board has really gotten behind this, is state of good repair. If we don't get this right, if we don't sort of set aside this notion that we need to keep adding new this and new that, which just compounds state of good repair more, we need to do those things. But the priority right now needs to be state of good repair. And if we don't get it right, then in another decade or two, this system is going to start just falling apart. Because as I told you last year, what will happen is if we don't keep up with state of good repair, if we don't figure out a way to substantially address that $7 billion shortfall over the next 10 years, our system will slow down. It'll become less dependable. If we're not rehabilitating our locomotives and our rail cars on the schedule that we should be, they'll break down more. And when they break down more, we become less dependable. And when we don't keep up on the tracks and the signal and the switches and the infrastructure, then in order to run safe service, we have to slow the service down. We become less dependable. And once we become less dependable, our customers will use the choice they have, which is to go back to the car. And then there's a downward spiral that occurs, and you can't catch up. We have to get ahead of the game. We can't lose those customers. We can't become undependable. If we don't fix this, if we don't get on top of it, then this system won't be around in another couple of generations for somebody to talk about their dad and their mom having ridden the system. It's a strong message, but it's the truth, and we need to focus on it, and I thank you for the question.
Two more questions. I want to raise their hand. Yes, sir. You Southwest suburban guys really got it together, don't you?
What percentage of the last two fare increases we've had are going to things like marketing, electrical outlets, Wi-Fi, apart from what we just agreed is needed, capital improvements to keep trees running outside?
Right. Good question. Good question. So, question is how much of the percentage of the last two fare increases is going to Wi-Fi and electrical outlets and those kinds of things, marketing, I think you said. I can't give you a percentage, but let me just talk about the logic. So in year one on the property in 2011, we talked to the board about the structural deficit in the operating enterprise fund. We were taking, this agency was taking $60 million a year in capital eligible federal money, federal formula money that we receive. We only receive about 150, a little less, $1 million a year. $60 million of that in 2011 was programmed over on the operating side. So when I talk about state of good repair, we weren't even doing what we're supposed to do because we were pulling $60 million out of the capital into operating. So the board understood that, they latched onto that, they wanted to fix that, and they did. It was a substantial fare increase. That's very unfortunate. We don't like doing that, and we hope to never do anything that big again. But it allowed us to fix that structural deficit. So we came out of FY11 with a balanced financial equation. We no longer used any capital money in the operating enterprise fund, and we had our tax sources coming from the RTA and fair revenues and some other revenues augmenting together to cover the entire operating enterprise expense. And so in year two, what we did is we focused on a smaller increase that just hit one tool, which is the 10 trip. That was about an 11%. So what we did is we took away the discount factor to the 10 trip. Now, if you look across the nation, virtually no one is discounting 10 trips. All, with the exception of, I think, SEPTA now in Philadelphia, have gotten rid of it because a 10 trip is not a discount tool. A 10 trip is a convenience tool. You know, that 10 trip allows you to have that in your pocket, your wallet, whatever, your purse, and go straight from your car to the train and ride. You don't have to go to the ticket window every time. You don't have to do that 10 times over 10 trips. You can just go right on board and use that 10 trip tool. It's a convenience tool, and so we've now changed it to what it is, and that's where one of our marketing campaigns is going, is to sort of re-inform our riders about the importance and the value of having a 10 trip in your pocket. And you don't have to, if you're in a rush, get on the train and pay that $3 penalty for buying your ticket on the train because, again, you have your 10 trip in your hand. So it's a convenience tool. It's a valuable tool. Now, obviously, we are a service business. We have to have a marketing program. We have to provide value to our customers. And what we're hearing through our surveys is our customers would like things like electrical outlets. We don't go out and spend that money haphazardly. That's based on the kind of feedback we get from our customers. And Wi-Fi is really a big push. We're getting a heavy push from customers who want to have Wi-Fi. So we have to invest in our system, we have to show value, and it's important when we raise fares to always try to find a way to show that out of whatever amount of money you're raising, you are putting some money into things that are of value to our customer. Marketing program, we're not spending enough. And that's going to be a discussion we're going to have with the board. When you look at what private sector service industry pays for marketing programs, we're not even close. We're at the 0.1%, 0.2% range when a typical service industry might be paying anywhere from 1% to 3%, depending on what their model is for marketing. We have to do more to attract customers to sell the benefits of the system, and that's part of our program in the coming year.
One more question? Someone other than from the southwest suburbs? Hand up. There you go in the corner.
West suburbs, live. A question about parking. Currently in Lyle, there's a 7-year wait list to get a parking spot to get a train. And I was wondering if you are working with any communities along the Metra system to set up some sort of partnerships or encouragement to reduce the number of parking spaces available for commuters because of the
Sure. So the question is, are we working with Lyle and other stations that are parking constrained? A lot of our cities in our service areas have waiting lists where you have to wait years in order to get parking. So one of the things we'll do is try to encourage people to look at alternatives. Certainly there's kiss and ride alternatives. A spouse can take you to the train, drop you off, pick you up. There's those kinds of things that we try to promote to backfill that. And then also transit. There's transit available typically from Pace, for example, that you can make a connection into the station. Lynn and her team work on that with the communities. Sometimes it can result in a parking deck. Sometimes it can result in expansion of a parking deck. We just have to work with each community on an individual basis. But through this strategic planning process and that universe of projects, hopefully we did grab your concerns. And if we didn't, don't hesitate to call it to our attention and we'll add it to the list.
How about a nice round of applause?